Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Nathan Drinkard. I'm Jay Wise. Thanks for spending some of your time with us. We're on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere in between. If you're looking for us in the video format, you can find us at the A Drink of Wisdom YouTube channel. Drink, we are fully operational after 3 months of being semi-operational, you might say. And it is great to be with you on this wonderful Friday.
Oh yeah, we back, baby. You know how I feel about the Fruit for Fridays. We up in this thing. We ready. We in the lab. We ready to go. We full strength. That mean none of that. You know what it is. So here we go, man. Another day, another dollar. Giving the streets what they need. We see what they don't. Absolutely say what they want. Set your dinner plates because it's time to eat. And last but not least, let's talk some sports, baby. Jay, what we got today?
Well, we got a lot of NBA playoff action to get to. We'll preview all the first round series that we have, including Celtics Nets in the East and Warriors Nuggets in the West. And we will also continue our NFL draft coverage. But we have to start with the NBA play-in tournament because it's not over yet. On Tuesday and Wednesday, on Tuesday, you had the 7 seeds solidified with the Brooklyn Nets beating the Cleveland Cavaliers 115-108. And then in the nightcap, it was the Minnesota Timberwolves beating the Los Angeles Clippers 109-104. And then on Wednesday night, the Atlanta Hawks blew the doors off the Charlotte Hornets, eliminating them from the 9-10 game, 132-103. And that other game, Pelican Spurs. Yeah, that's the one that I called the whatever game. And the Spurs are gone. The Pelicans advance to the 8th seed. So now you have tonight, in about an hour, you got the Hawks and Cavs for the 8th seed in the East, and the Pelicans and the Clippers will battle it out for the 8th seed in the West. Drink, what did you make of the Tuesday-Wednesday action and your thoughts on the games tonight?
Well, it seems that the play-in tournament is starting to shape up the way I thought it would. If you remember when we was doing our preview, I said I thought the Nets would get in at 7, and I had the Hawks getting in at 8. It seemed like, even though we got the game tonight, it seems like I could possibly get that one. I like my chances with that one, just because I don't know. I just feel like the Hawks gonna get it done, even though the Cavs should be the better team, I guess you would say. But I'm going with the Hawks. I'm going with the team that had done it. And then in the West, we seen what happened. Timberwolves with the celebration of the season. Somebody might want to tell these guys that was not the championship. But for the Timberwolves, I guess a franchise that ain't seen much success since Kevin Garnett, can you really be mad? And I've been hearing a lot of chatter about Patrick Beverley, how he been running his mouth. He did deliver on his promise. When he signed, he said his team was gonna take that team to the playoffs. They did make the playoffs. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? That's why he out here cracking a cold one at the post-game, post-game joint. So with that said, Timberwolves in there. So now we got the Clippers. We got the Clippers going against the Pelicans. Listen, I'm really not interested in the Pelicans making the playoffs. Honestly, I'm not overly excited about the Clippers, but at least they got Paul George. I am not interested in the Pelicans. I get it, CJ McCullough, Brandon Ingram. I get it. I'm just not. I don't know. I don't know if you're selling interviewers with the Pelicans. So I'm still going with the Clippers, getting in at 8. Now, something I wanted to talk about with that blowout that you mentioned, and we were just talking about it. Hey, man, I don't know what Miles Bridges was thinking, but I'm going to tell you like this. And listen, we get on to the fans for certain things that they do. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. Listen, if you're going to say the fans can do whatever they want as long as it don't cross the line on the court because they're not players, but I feel like players should never cross the line and go into the stands. And I feel like what Miles Bridges did that's exactly what he did. Anytime a player goes and throws something in the stands, that's that player going into the stands essentially because you cross the line. Listen, I get it. Fans, for the most part, especially when they're not on the courtside seats, they're going to say a lot of things. And really they can say whatever they want. I mean, really, because you think about where they at and you think about where you are. I get it. Courtside, maybe they're a little closer. If they say something too crazy, you can go get the referee. If you LeBron James, you get them up out of there. But for the most part, listen, I don't understand how you make it to this level and then now, sticks and stones might break my bones, words will never hurt me. Then you get, as a professional, now everybody's so sensitive to like what's being said. Like, listen, that fan was probably telling you was trash that night, and he ain't lying because the Hornets was hot garbage. You got LaMelo Ball out here, putting up an eighth in the backwood out here before the game. For those of you that know what I mean, and if you know, you know. And then he come out there with that performance. I don't know, man. Jordan gotta go tighten up with that coach. So I don't know what was up with that, but I thought that was some tomfoolery. So, yeah. So with that said, I think tonight my prediction will come true, and 2, the Hornets should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, I think I'll get to the Miles Bridges in a moment, because that was it's funny. This play-in tournament, all the storylines for me are not really about the games, because like I have nothing. For instance, I have nothing to say about that Pelican Spurs game, and nothing, because I didn't watch, didn't plan on it, whatever. Like whatever happened, it happened. So the first thing I have to say is this Paul George thing. And that's another thing. I hadn't read that story. I need to read it while I'm talking here at the same time. But Paul George being out tonight due to a positive COVID test.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's a joke at this point in life. This is entering year 3. It's the beginning of year 3 since this whole thing started. I don't care if he's vaccinated, unvaccinated. I'm going to assume that he's vaccinated, because I'm not seeing headlines that saying he's unvaccinated. So it's just like, it's what I've kind of been saying about the flu. Before coronavirus, if somebody had flu-like symptoms, if they felt good enough to play, they playing. So my question is Paul George sick? Because just because you tested positive for COVID does not mean you're sick. And that is my immediate problem. I think it's just terrible news for the Clippers. Not that I have any interest in them winning this game and going as an 8th seed, but I'm just saying, if you're a Clippers fan, if you're Clippers ownership, if you're, in that type of, that arena, I would be livid at this. I really would, because I just think it's a joke at this point. And, Paul, if you want to talk about vaccination, go ahead.
So my bad. So let me, I just want to make sure I'm hearing you right. So are you saying you think now we're at a time now where, like, even if you're positive, if you're not sick, if you're not showing those symptoms, we should still be going head steam, don't worry about it, we good?
If Paul George is not showing symptoms, I would play him. I think he should play. And if you're talking about vaccinated, unvaccinated, at this point, I don't think it really matters to me. But we know, based on like how stringent the NBA was, there's very few players that haven't been vaccinated. And if you haven't taken the vaccine, you're fine with the risk. And for we've been over this thing so many times. We know who's at risk. The NBA player is not at risk unless you got an underlying condition. But these guys are some of, the elite of the elite as far as the athletes. Right. And I don't think the risk is for them. Just like when we see like what's going on with some of these schools and some of these cities still. Why are some of these kids wearing masks? It's just ridiculous. Anyway, let's move on, because if he plays or don't play, the Clippers most likely would be getting escorted on out of the playoffs in the first round by Phoenix. So it's not that big a deal, but for one game to decide it all, your best player we ain't seen him all year with whatever injury he's been dealing with. And then your second best player has been in and out. you know, not to be confused with a fast food joint. And, you know,
maybe
but
want
like,
a burger right now.
in a game that means everything to like going home or having a chance to make a run at the 8th seed, you're not gonna have your best player. I think Los Angeles could still have a chance tonight because they still got a lot of veterans that can step up. Reggie Jackson's capable of leading the team. You got Marcus Morris, you got Batum, you got a bunch of guys who can compensate. And it is the Pelicans, so who knows? You know, they do have, I think McCollum and Ingram, they can obviously do some things, and they were very good against the Spurs according to the box score, because you know I didn't watch. But yeah, I just think if I was a Clippers fan, I would be absolutely livid at this, as I just don't think it's something that we need to be dealing with right now. The other thing, actually, before I go to Bridges, I just want to say, in concert with that, the Wednesday night games, the 9-10 games, the headline players for me in the backcourt, and I think you'd agree, were Trae Young, LaMelo Ball, CJ McCollum, and DeJounte Murray.
Right.
Yeah. 3 out of 4 of them were absolute duds. They stunk from a shooting standpoint. I got 8 for 24 for Trae Young, 7 for 25 for LaMelo Ball. McCollum was very good, 12 for 23, 33 points, and Murray was terrible at 5 for 19. This is part of the problem with the play-in. You get lackluster. This is lackluster competition. We don't need 2 out of every 3 teams to be involved. What's next? We're going to extend this all the way out to 30. And if you finish last place in the NBA in a conference, if you win 10 consecutive games, a la Phoenix from the play-in, from the bubble, we'll put you at the 8th seed, and like you could do something with yourself. No, I just think that's an example of why we shouldn't do this.
But see, what about the naysayers that say, well, the reason you got the play-in tournament because it kind of helped teams like Brooklyn, for example. Even though technically, if you go by the old way of things, they still would have been in the playoffs, right? But
yes.
But teams like Brooklyn, I don't know that they're when they're playing their best, they're an elite team, but injuries, out the courts, blah blah blah. It allowed them the chance to, I don't know, I guess build some continuity, get back on the horse, and then make things a little more evenly with the rest of the playoff teams in the East.
If you can't get it done in 82 games, I don't need. It's not even a play. It's not even a play-in tournament. These teams get 2 games at the most. The Nets got 1 game and they're in. Oh man, they really had to have that 83rd game to get it together. Nah, man, not buying it. Sorry. The other thing was Miles Bridges. Now, we got to wait a minute. This was Wednesday, so no, it wasn't Tuesday. So yeah, I had it on at the start, and it seemed pretty clear. It wasn't that long that I was like, okay, Atlanta's got this. And then they had a really great third quarter. I thought DeAndre Hunter was really good in that third quarter, and the game was out of hand. And then I had it muted in the fourth quarter, and I just happened to look over, and I see the whole sequence live with Miles Bridges, where he gets called for goaltending. They down by 31 at this point, by the way. So he get called for goaltending. He act like he want to do something to the official. He going over there looking like, the official just called his mama the worst name in the world. And then the referee ain't got time for it. He's like, oh, okay, there's your one technical.
I'm done.
Keep coming and keep talking. Oh, there's your second one. Okay, get him out of here. He's leaving the floor. And before he gets to the tunnel, and there was a fan, like there was a fan up there like gesturing and everything. But I went back and watched it, and the fan that I'm talking about, I don't remember what he was wearing or whatever. But when I watched it, he was like, he was gesturing at the big board or something. He wasn't even looking at Bridges. And then Miles Bridges, I don't know if he heard something from him or somebody else, but he turns around and like slaps at the dude. And then I didn't even notice the mouthpiece. He chucks his mouthpiece. I found out the next day it hit somebody, and it's just, what a circus. And what you said. The 16-year-old girl, right? A
16-year-old girl. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. Hopefully she was not harmed in any way. I just, I say that kind of jokingly, but I mean, it is somewhat serious.
Right.
Because what you said, I think is absolutely correct. We've covered quite a few instances where fans have just been acting all kind of crazy. And we kind of was trying to figure out, like, what is it, just because everybody's been kind of cooped up for so long and you're trying to everybody
Right.
getting back out and they just don't know, they forgot how to handle themselves.
Right.
Frank, we have to point out these players because the players will cry the whole game, just treat the officials like dog crap. And quite honestly, these guys don't deserve it. I could not be an NBA official with the
Right.
kind of abuse they have to deal with. But up to a point, we know that that's just how the league is. But Miles Bridges, absolutely, he deserved to get thrown out the game for what he appeared he wanted to do something. And I just didn't understand it. Like, I get it, it's frustrating. That's about to be your last game of the season. You didn't play that well. But at the same time, the game's over. That one call had nothing to do with the outcome of the game.
Nothing whatsoever.
I don't think it was the wrong call. And yet, what are you upset about? I mean, and then to just continue that on your way to the tunnel, and you over here slapping at people and throwing stuff, like, that's embarrassing. Just an absolute. And Miles Bridges had a really good season. Average, I think his scoring average went up like 7-8 points. Could be a sneaky candidate for the most improved player, that type of thing. But this is the last time. This is our lasting impression of Miles Bridges, because I ain't seen Charlotte play one game this year before this. So yeah, so that's not good. And he got fined, and he came out and said, he did everybody has their usual spiel. They say, "Oh, I'm sorry," and I accept responsibility. What's that even mean anymore? I feel like it's just words at this point. He getting a $50,000 fine. So, okay, I lose a little bit of money, whatever. The way he carried himself and conducted himself in his actions, and for potentially somebody could have gotten hurt. And I think that should warrant a suspension. He should be suspended for the opening game next year, in my opinion. Anyway, I guess that's it. We'll move on to the actual playoffs. This show wasn't it.